Welcome again, everybody. This is Brian Donahue, president of DMI, calling in from Boston, Massachusetts. And thank you to everyone for attending this webinar. We've got a very special guest and a very special topic today. So let's get right into the program. I've got everybody's phone lines muted. But today's topic is the negative annuity factor and what we can do to convert it to a positive. And today's guest is Fred Boudiette. And I've got here up on the screen here his bio, but first let me tell you a little bit about DMI, and then we'll talk a little bit about Fred and the VISPA group, and he's going to be answering questions and talking about this negative annuity factor. DMI, we're a national IMO marketing company located just outside of Boston, Massachusetts, and we work with financial advisors all over the country in the sales and distribution and marketing of fixed life and annuity products. So I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about DMI today. You all got on this call to learn more about Fred, his business, and the topic of the day. So I'm going to ask Fred to say a little bit about himself and his company, and then we'll dive into the topic and hear from Fred. So Fred, tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Okay. Yeah, well, you know, you got that little bio blob up on the screen that everybody can see. I actually started in the business, when I got back from Vietnam in 1969, I signed on with a mutual fund company that had an overseas division, and so I asked for an assignment there, and I ended up being posted in Manila in the Philippines, and lived there for 12 years. I only stayed with the mutual fund company for about 2 years. I had developed a good solid core group of clients, and I began doing a series of real estate ventures in different parts of the United States. Essentially what I'd do is come back and find projects that I thought had some potential, relatively small, and tie it up with whatever little cash I had at the time, and then go back to my clients and tell them what we could do with the property and what kind of money we could make, and ask them if they wanted a piece of it or not. So I did that for many years. As my clients got older, closer to retirement, or many of them were retiring, and you know, I was getting older myself. We had much less of a zest for the speculative real estate ventures, and I made a calculated decision to switch over to the preservation and distribution mode. Through some contacts that I had who had developed a very strong annuity marketing business, I decided that was the way to go. I moved back to Worcester, Massachusetts, where I had grown up but hadn't lived here for 25 years. Had no warm market whatsoever to start with. So I developed a system where I'd run some small ads in newspapers hitting a hot button, offering a free report, and from that generated our initial clients, and then developed a referral and introduction system and a drip marketing system behind that, so that within about a year we were exclusively a referral-based business. So that's how we started.
Thank you, Fred. And you know, he's being a little bit modest, but he catapulted to quite a high level of sales and success in a short period of time, considering he had no market and no one to really speak to when he moved back to Massachusetts. So if you were on our call last week with Fred, he talked about, do you have a high-paying job or business? And you could certainly go to dmi.com and click on webinars and hear that recording last week that we did with Fred, and he talked about some of the systems that he's developed over the years and how you could access those systems, which ties into why are we doing this. Why DMI is doing this is because, quite frankly, folks, as an IMO, you can get product anywhere, and everyone speaks of good service, and service is really a given in this world today. What really differentiates DMI from the competition and the other IMOs out there is our marketing value add. We've got a team of 10 marketing professionals here that engage in social media, web, digital, email marketing, workshops, seminars, and a whole host of ways to help advisors brand themselves, shorten their sales cycle, and get in front of more qualified people in an easier, faster way. And one of the value adds is people like Fred. Fred is actually a consultant of DMI's, and he's been working with DMI for a number of years in that capacity, either in an individual mentoring capacity or in a capacity like this. And he's been willing to share a lot of his best practices and systems with select qualified advisors throughout the country. So that's a little bit about why DMI is doing this. Fred, maybe you can speak to why you're doing this, because it sounds like you got a pretty successful business already.
Yeah, well, you know, maybe there's some of it is an ego factor that I think we all have. If you develop something that works and works real well, then you're kind of proud of it. And, it's kind of a good feeling to share that with other people. And of course, the other reason is that you won't pay me to share my systems with you know, some of your select agents and brokers.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yes, that's correct, Fred. Thank you. So let's talk about today's topic, the negative annuity factor. And Fred, tell us what you mean by that, and maybe you could start by talking about your unique sales process and how you actually what kind of sales process you've built and how that applies to what we're talking about today.
Okay. Well, you know, the vast majority of our business is a result of retirement income planning. So obviously we're targeting people that have just retired or are very seriously planning for their retirement. So whether they're referral or whether they come to us through the Social Security workshops that we've developed and refined, you know, they come into us, we gather their information about lifestyle needs and what they, the things that we all do. You know, just gather all of the pertinent information and painstakingly design the best possible retirement income plan that we can for them. We then deliver our proposal to the prospect in a second appointment and answer all their questions and concerns. And many times they're right in step with us, and we simply proceed to implement the plan. But as you all know, oftentimes we're working with someone who simply needs more time to make sure that this is exactly what they want to do. And this is fine. You know, different folks have different ways of making decisions. So we ask them to carefully review the proposal, write down all their questions and concerns, and then we schedule another appointment. Now,
and Fred, can you talk about, you really have two different sales processes, one for referrals and one for workshops. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, once they come in, the process is pretty much the same, Brian.
Okay.
It's just how they're fed into us, type of thing.
Okay.
So what happens, you know, after when we don't implement the plan right away in that first appointment, and we schedule a second appointment, usually if we've done the job properly, then you know, most of the time they're going to come back in for that next appointment. We're going to implement the plan at that time. But, and you all can relate to this. What about the times when you get that phone call canceling the appointment, and they simply tell us, usually apologetically actually, that they're just not ready yet, or they're not sure that our proposal is the right thing for them at that time. So what do you think has happened you know, to cause that? And our practice was built on referral, and most of our new prospects continue to come to us by referral. And this is rarely an issue when we're working with referrals. But in 2013, we began doing the Social Security workshops. And after considerable refining and tweaking, we became quite successful in developing substantial new business from this source. But we don't have the same credibility level yet with the prospect that comes to us from the workshops as we have with a referral. So this dilemma is sometimes an issue. You know, we know that the proposal that we made for them is the right thing for them. So why didn't they want to implement it? And the answer is quite simple. We live in, Brian, I think you gave me this term, we live today in what we call a Google society. And when they search the internet, do you think they're going to find more positive information on annuities or more negative information? And if they have a relationship with an existing financial advisor, which many of them do, don't you think they're going to talk to them about your proposal? And what kind of information do you think they're going to get from those sources? So after mulling this around, it became obvious to me that it'd make a lot more sense to let them know in advance what kind of information they're going to get from these sources and explain why they're going to get that kind of information and neutralize it instead of just ignoring it. And so as a result, we designed a brief written report. And when the prospect isn't ready to implement our proposal right away and needs some time to think it through and research it, we simply give them this report along with the proposal to assist them in making the right decision for them.
Great. Can you talk a little bit? Can you talk a little bit about the report and some of the things that are in there and why it's been successful for you?
Yeah. The title of the report is Understanding Annuities, with a subtitle, A Guide to Informed Decision Making. And it starts out by, you know, we simply say, this is information that's provided to assist you in evaluating your choice, since there's so much misinformation about annuities, either deliberate or out of ignorance. And I think you can relate to this. Included in there is, we say, first and foremost, we need to take into account the source of any information. Your investment advisors, the Susie Ormans, Jane Bryan Quinns, Motley Fools, Ken Fishers, and so forth, are by nature growth and accumulation oriented and simply do not understand the preservation and distribution mode that should prevail when it comes to those savings that they must rely on to support lifestyle for the rest of their life and retirement. These advice givers are joined with mutual fund companies, brokerage houses, asset management, financial advisory firms, and are often either employed or subsidized by them. And as billions of dollars leave these firms each year due to savvy retirees or soon-to-be retirees repositioning some of their savings into annuity accounts, they're trying to stem the tide. And even then, and you know, you can get the drift of that. But then we go on to say there's two common ways that incorrect information about annuities is disseminated. One is by the syndicated columnists who are under constant pressure to produce a weekly column or radio or TV show and have a limited number of topics to cover. Time restraints often cause them to provide opinions based on limited and incomplete information. It shouldn't be that way, but it happens consistently. The other way is far more subtle, where they take a negative aspect of some annuity accounts and treat it as though it applies to all annuities. Either way, they can mislead an uninformed reader, viewer, or listener. And then we go on to provide some information about annuities overall. There's one section, just 2 pages. Annuities, when are they right or wrong for me? And it talks about, you know, the different types, immediate annuities, variable annuities, fixed annuities, and defines them and how they're different. And then there's another 2 pages, page and a half actually, titled An Overview of the Different Types of Guaranteed Fixed Annuities. And then we talk about the traditional guaranteed fixed annuity, the guaranteed rate annuity, the index guaranteed fixed annuity, and so forth. You know, the differences between them. And then we kind of close close it up by, we hit 4 topics under a title, Common Annuity Misinformation. One of them is excessive fees. The other one is high commissions. The next one is caps on index guaranteed fixed annuities, because you hear that all the time. They talk to their existing financial advisor. Oh, you don't want anything to do with those. They have caps on them, and your money is tied up. So we have a paragraph on each of those topics, and then about a 3/4 page summary. That's it.
So you would say, Fred, you're preemptively hitting on what you know is going to happen when they leave the office, and playing a little bit more on the offense than on the defense.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
And so can you talk, so this particular free report, or this particular report, I'm sorry, is branded and packaged and beautifully presented to the client, and is professionally written and very professionally done, and it's all proprietary information of Fred's company, the Vispa Group. But Fred, can you talk a little bit about what your experience has been since you started using that? And I think when we were speaking last night about the webinar today, you said you had a case that had just happened yesterday as a result of the report.
Yeah. Well, we've only I only put it together about a month ago, but we're seeing some decent results already. But one of the more dramatic ones, was it yesterday? No, yesterday or the day before. A fellow that we had worked with, who came to us through a Social Security workshop, came in, and he had retired from a utility company, and he had plenty of income. I mean, he just didn't need any additional income. So we talked to him a little bit about, at least protecting some of, like a $1.2 million portfolio that he had, protecting some of it, and made a proposal to him. And he, again, wasn't ready to make the decision. So in any event, we didn't have this report at the time. But we recently, as a result of the changes that have been made in the Social Security system, we sent out an email to all of the people that had come into us through the Social Security workshop, simply saying there's been some changes. Just another way of gripping on them. There's been some changes, and if you want to know how they may impact you, call our office. So this fellow called the office for that purpose. So we talked to him about the changes and whether or not they would impact him, and then revisited the proposal we had made to him. And that's when he opened up about, well, I'm not sure, I want to do an annuity, I had heard this, I had heard that. So we sent him this report about a week ago. Yesterday he called. He said, you know what, that looks like exactly what I've been looking for. And he asked for an appointment to come back in. So, seems to be working.
Go ahead, Fred.
No, I said it seems to be working.
Yep. And I think you've had one of the best months in January you've had in quite some time. You're on a pace to shatter all types of records, and it's a result of all your systems and processes, both on the referral side and on the workshop side. So congratulations on it.
It surprised me.
Well, I don't think it's any surprise. I think there's a reason why it's happening. But anyhow, so thanks for that information, Fred. What's the next step? Like we mentioned earlier at the beginning of the call, we want to be a little bit different than the other IMOs out there, and we want to truly bring value to your business beyond great products and compensation and service. And Fred is one example of that, and he's been certainly kind enough and generous enough to work with DMI and share with our folks all of his wonderful, successful, well written and created processes. So the next step is, if you'd like to learn more or receive the free report that we're speaking of today, you can go to dmi.com, contact us through the Contact Us page link, type in your name, your information, and that you're interested in the negative annuity factor free report, or you can certainly call one of these three people on the screen here, myself, our Vice President of Sales, or our Chief Marketing Officer here at DMI. And that concludes our webinar today. You're going to be hearing more from Fred. This is not a one-and-done thing. We'll be doing this frequently with Fred and other prolific advisors that work with us. We have a big one scheduled tomorrow as well that is posted on our website and on our social media LinkedIn page as well, that we'd all like you to join. So, Fred, any final remarks or comments you'd like to make before we end the call?
No, other than, as per our agreement, Brian, that I've agreed to share, the systems that I've developed, including all of the reports and scripts and, the whole shooting match with certain select agents and brokers. And, of course, you know what the criteria is and what the screening process is,
Absolutely.
For that. So,
yeah.
Fred
has spent years and years and years perfecting, tweaking, adding, subtracting, changing, editing, enhancing all of the systems. They've taken a lot of time and work and trial and error, but they're generating significant amounts of appointments and business and revenue, and doing a lot of good things out there for people. So, yeah, that's exactly what the next step would be. Fred, thank you for your time, and thank you for all your intellectual capital today. And we look forward to speaking to everybody on this webinar again soon. Thanks for attending. Have a nice day, everybody.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.